All right, picture this. You are at the airport or strolling through the grocery store, and suddenly there they are, someone who seems tailor-made for you. You know that feeling, right? The instant connection you can't ignore. But then they leave. Another missed connection? Not with Never Missed, a new dating app that turns those chance encounters into unforgettable beginnings. It's simple. Download the Never Missed app for free right now on the App Store or Google Play. In just moments, you will be ready to transform fleeting glances into lasting connections. Download the Never Missed app and make your story of how you met an unforgettable chapter in your journey. Today on CityCast DC, we are talking about a new surveillance program with DC and the feds. It is supposed to target crime. Plus, we are talking about a crazy house explosion in Arlington and some new policies on everyone's favorite subject, snow days. CityCast's Priyanka Tilve and Axios' Mimi Montgomery are here to talk about the week that was. Today is Friday, December 8th. I'm Michael Schaefer, and here's what DC is talking about. Hey, Mimi, thank you for being here.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. I'm glad to be here.
And Priyanka, good to have you too, of course.
Thanks.
I know we have a lot of big stories to get through today, but first, you have exciting news.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. You've probably heard at this point about our membership drive. It's a chance for you as a friend of the pod to actually become part of what we do. Obviously, you listen to this podcast. You may also subscribe to our sister newsletter, Hey DC, where we cover events and news and all sorts of quirky features like best places to cry in DC. As a team, we also do live tapings, and we spend a lot of evenings out and about exploring the city so that we can report back to you on what's worth your time and what's really not. This is fun, of course. We love the city, but it's also a lot of work. We only have 3 full-time staff here, and then we have 3 more part-time employees who work their butts off. And all of this is why we need your support. Today is an especially important day in our membership drive because it is your last chance to become a founding member. That means your name would be on our website forevermore as someone who contributes to getting our podcast and newsletter out in the world every single day, Monday to Friday. After today, sure, you can still become a boring old member. You'll still get the ad-free listening and the first dibs on live events. But don't you want to be a founding one? Sign up at membership.citycast.fm. Check our show notes for the link. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox now.
All right, well, good, because we may be able to see you physically stepping down from the soapbox because there's a lot of security cameras in DC. And according to our mayor, these security cameras are about to start working together in tandem.
Yeah, this news, when it dropped, it just straight up sounds like a surveillance state. It's kind of freaky. DC police say they're entering agreements with federal law enforcement, police from Maryland and Virginia, lots of different partners, including the Secret Service, Park Police, Capitol Police, Metro Transit Police, and then, police departments in the suburbs. They're going to be creating this new real-time crime center where they're going to be monitoring all of the surveillance cameras that they have access to. So MPD lists like 50 permanent cameras that are deployed across the city. Most of them are downtown.
Wait, so they list them like
on their website? Yeah, they have them listed.
Like if I was doing criminal activity, I could look up that list and then not do my criminal activity at those 50 spots.
Exactly.
Is that are they like legally constitutionally obliged to list them?
I'm not sure about that, actually. It does sound like that might be true, but I don't really know. But aside from those 50 permanent cameras that they have listed, there are also hundreds more cameras apparently located in neighborhoods elsewhere, and they are not listed on the website. And the center will have access to cameras at metro stations, at federal buildings, I guess public state buildings in Maryland and Virginia. So I don't know. How do you feel about this? Like, the idea here is to target crime, but how do you feel about the fact that these cameras are going to be always watching and there are people behind them actively watching them? You know what I mean?
Reminds me a little of, or sounds a little like CCTV across the pond.
It does.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if you say just hypothetically are married to someone who watches a lot of British mysteries on TV, it doesn't feel that creepy. It feels like every time something happens, but according to British television, people are constantly being murdered there. And whenever they are, they can pull up CCTV of everything that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I guess my question is, do we know exactly where they would be putting these?
The cameras?
Mm-hmm.
Not so far. I think information on this is really trickling out right now, but it seems like a weird story to have trickle in this way because of the potential backlash or like the fear factor involved. I just think people are wary of hearing that cameras are going to be watching them, and especially police are going to be watching them via cameras all the time. But at the same time, crime is the biggest topic of the year. We've been asking people what they think DC did well this year and what DC completely failed at this year, and crime comes up 9 out of 10 times, you know? So the city needs to show that they're doing something to deal with the over 200 homicides and like 900 carjackings. Do you think this would make you feel safer?
It neither makes me feel particularly safer nor particularly creeped out. Look, Washington is the capital of the country. There's a lot of incredibly secure facilities. There's a lot of national security stuff here. I assume there's surveillance everywhere, like much more than there would be in like Seattle or Cleveland or something. But it's also like 2023 and there's just cameras everywhere. People have like Ring cameras on their doors. There are on any store you go into. And if you look at like local TV news, like every crime story seems to be illustrated with like, oh, here's like the video surveillance from the Exxon station where someone was carjacked. Mm-hmm. So I think like anyone who thinks there isn't cameras everywhere is probably like misinformed. And what seems to be happening here is they're going to like have a room where a lot of feeds come together at the same time.
Yeah.
Rather than having to like make the case by cobbling it together later, which just doesn't seem like that creepy, but nor does it seem particularly like, I mean, the kind of crimes that at least in, among people I talk to have kind of obsessed people are the like, you're driving down a street and it's kind of dark and someone bumps you and it turns out you're being carjacked. That's the stuff that's probably least likely to be in a camera surveillance zone anyway.
True.
I mean, yes, the presence of cameras makes me feel safe when like walking down the street in front of the State Department. I'm not going to get mugged there. But that's like not that much of a practical hypothetical.
Yeah, I agree with Schaefer. And like just all these reports of like, your phone can hear you, your Amazon Echo can hear you. I just kind of assume that I am like generally under like universal surveillance no matter where I am. But also like they have these cameras, but that's like not going to necessarily stop something from actually happening to you in the moment, right? It's not like they can like use this camera and then automatically like, I'm assuming like sending, police exactly to where this is occurring. It's more just sort of like a hopeful move that this will eventually contribute to like a slowdown in crime. So, it'd be interesting if they do implement this to sort of like look at the stats of like, crime actually does drop.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, I guess the intention is that it would contribute to more accurate arrests and then people are less likely to take the chance. But for a little while, there will be a transition period where crime doesn't actually go down just because there are cameras watching.
Right. And in theory, they get more criminals and incarcerate them or deliver consequence that makes them stop doing what they're doing or whatever it is, whatever the theory of the case is.
Yeah. And one more thing to just watch on this is going to be how they're going to staff it because MPD's long been complaining of a shortage. So who is going to be sitting in this real-time crime center watching these cameras 24/7, 365 days a year? I don't know. I don't know how they're going to pull that off.
Totally. That seems like a huge lift.
For sure.
Hey friends, are you looking for a way to ring in the holiday season? Then come join the Gay Men's Chorus of Washington, D.C. as they present their annual extravaganza. It's called The Holiday Show. Running December 2nd, 9th, and 10th at the Lincoln Theater, this year's edition promises more laughs, more fun, and more surprises than ever before. It's complete with disco dancers, sparkly snow, over-the-top costumes, their amazing vocal ensembles, and even an appearance by Santa Claus. So break out the sparkle and reindeer antlers. You will not want to miss out on this popular holiday concert, but act fast as tickets always sell out. That's The Holiday Show presented by the Gay Men's Chorus of Washington, D.C., playing December 2nd, 9th, and 10th only at the Lincoln Theater. Get your tickets today at gmcw.org. That's gmcw.org.
Looking for the perfect gift this holiday season? Give the gift that keeps on giving for the sports fan in your life with a Washington Nationals holiday ticket pack. You'll get 4 game tickets plus a limited edition gift with purchase. Choose from 2 different 4-game ticket packs, starting at just $59. Every ticket pack comes with an exclusive set of Nationals jersey ornaments that aren't on sale anywhere else, valued at $49, but yours for free. Matchups include weekend games and games against the Yankees, Astros, Orioles, Phillies, and more. Grab a pack for all the baseball fans in your family and enjoy a beautiful day at Nationals Park in 2024. Make sure to place your order by December 10th for holiday delivery. Give the sports lover in your life a gift they'll enjoy all baseball season long. Visit nats.com/gift and give the gift of Nationals baseball today.
So on the subject of things that are on video, this crazy ass house that exploded in Arlington that Mimi wrote about, we all were able to see it in living color. I think a neighbor must have shot that. That's what that's what the video looked like. But the point is, here's another like this crazy thing that happened, and it's like pretty vivid video of it from not from a still camera, but from somebody who was there. What is the backstory though? How did the police wind up at this house and in this standoff that someone saw fit to tape?
Yeah, definitely. So Monday evening, like a little before 5, police got reports of, what sounded like gunfire in this neighborhood in Arlington, Bloomont. And so when they showed up, someone started, firing a flare gun in the home. And that someone is now, we know, the suspect who was a man named James Yu in his 50s who lived in this duplex in Arlington. And so the police got a search warrant to look for weapons in the home. And when they reached the front door to execute this search warrant, they said they heard noises that sounded like he was starting to open fire on them. So then they deployed some chemical munitions in the home to try to get him out. That didn't work. And then the home exploded like around 8:30. So, there was this sort of like neighborhood standoff that happened for over 3.5 hours. And, a lot of folks were told to evacuate their homes or put on lockdown. And so I think, it understandably really sort of rattled this immediate community and then also just like the nation at large, thanks to like all of the video footage that we have of this like crazy, humongous explosion that happened.
Is there a theory as to what caused the explosion?
So in the presser that they held, officials didn't really like directly answer questions about that. They did cut off the gas lines to the house, and there were bomb technicians on site, but officials didn't like directly say that this was like a bomb or anything to that effect. So there's still no like official verdict on what it was.
Could it be related to the chemical munitions that they fired in to get the guy out?
Yeah, they didn't provide any information as to whether they knew if that was a contributing factor or not. So TBD on that. But I mean, I'm no munitions expert, but just based on the footage of that explosion, like I feel like it had to have been something like very significant.
Dude, Priyanka, I told you to get a munitions expert for today. What is this? Come on.
Sorry. Let me get a Wikipedia.
Yeah, we'll get right on that. That video just blows my mind. The house just comes down so dramatically. If you haven't seen it, we'll put it in our show notes. But I'm not surprised that this has resonated with people around the country to try and figure out what's going on there.
So wait, what do we know about the suspect/victim?
Yeah, so the Post actually came out with some really great reporting about this. So his name was James Yu. He was 56, I believe. So the police believe that he died in this explosion. There were human remains found in the home, but they haven't like identified them yet. But they believe that he died in it and that he was the only person that lived in that section of the duplex. They evacuated the folks who lived in the other side of the duplex. Yeah, so it looks like he was a former security specialist for like a telecoms company, and he has a history of some pretty rambling LinkedIn posts that sort of made allegations about the government and, the media and whatnot. And he had filed a bunch of lawsuits in Virginia and New York, alleging that like lawyers and his doctors and his family were like sort of like conspiring against him. And he, I think, had a history of some substance abuse issues. According to court records, he went to a hospital once for acute alcohol withdrawal. So sort of a lot going on there. But then just, in reading interviews with folks who lived in the neighborhood, he was kind of something of a recluse. It sounded like he didn't leave the home that often. I read some reports that there were like a lot of do not trespass signs and maybe some like aluminum foil on the windows. So it sounded like he was someone who kept to himself, but also had this like history of engaging in conspiracy theories online and whatnot.
I'm curious, in the video that emerged, the police are outside the house and they're saying, come out, you must come out. So there was a sort of standoff. It lasted for some time and then the house blows up. Is there a protocol for like what you are supposed to do if you are trying to get a person who may or may not be a crazy person to come out of a house? They used these chemicals to try to drive him out. Is there a sense that the cops acted according to like whatever their rules of engagement are supposed to be or best practices are supposed to be?
Yeah, I think so. During the presser, some people were asking questions about deploying the chemical munitions and who was on site and whatnot. And, at least to my knowledge, officials were sort of really adamant that they had like saved lives via the protocols that they'd used and having FBI, ATF, local officials, firefighters on scene and evacuating folks and sort of being really preemptive in the steps that they took. So they seem pretty confident that they, took the necessary steps. And I will say the outcome could have been way more catastrophic than it was.
Yeah, and I mean, with an explosion that size, I would be scared to be in that neighborhood. So it's nice to hear that they were effective and efficient about getting everyone out.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Like I said, no serious injuries reported, and he is the only reported death.
There's a big difference between talking and reporting, especially right now with a fire hose worth of news coming your way. You know what helps? Having reporters in the field. I'm Brad Milkey from ABC News, and that's what we've got on ABC's daily podcast, Start Here. Every morning, Start Here takes you across the country and around the world for a quick, smart look at the stories that matter. It's fast, it's straightforward, and sometimes, gasp, news can even be fun. So let's meet up tomorrow morning. Listen to Start Here wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, so you guys remember during the pandemic when all the kids were at school remote, there was this idea that this was going to be the end of snow days, right? That now that America knew how to go to school in a virtual setting, why would they give up that knowledge just because we're back out of the pandemic? But it seems like that's kind of not the path that's happened. There was a story that I noticed this week about Fairfax County, which has its old snow day policy in place. There are 11 days baked into their calendar.
Which also 11 days is a lot of days for a place that does not get that much snow. I know we're talking about how this is going to be an especially snowy winter, but I mean, 11 days, come on, that's not going to happen.
I don't know, 5 years ago or something, there was a big storm that closed Fairfax County schools for 1 week. And this is, one of the biggest counties in the United States, one of the biggest school systems in the United States. And our rich, powerful country, unable to clear streets sufficiently that people, it's not like it's in the mountains or something, that people could go to school for 1 week. And, I'm a parent now. So like I've got my own interest here, which is, in not having to like disrupt my own schedule to watch kids who are home on snow days. But it seems to me like all the talk of like, should we have this kind of snow days or that kind of snow days sort of lets local governments off the hook for what's supposed to be their job, which is like making it so that you can go places on the streets that your tax dollars pay for.
Totally. You were saying that the new policy is that they're going to have 11 banked days and
correct
without online learning?
If it snows and they say it's too risky to get to school, you'll have a snow day. And you'll get to go sledding or not do your homework or all the other awesome stuff that you used to get to do on snow days. DC has a much smaller number, I think 2 snow days built in, but will, if it goes above a certain number, will extend the school year. No, pretty much, very few places are building contingency plans around like, hey, we'll all get together on Zoom. And, I sort of get why, because in order to do that, particularly in order to do that fairly, you have to have a whole system in place that's pretty cumbersome and expensive.
Yeah, like kids have to know what Zoom to log on to at what time, and like transitioning between classes, hour to hour, all of that seems really complicated.
But like to my mind, the thing is like, and this is where geography of DC is particularly a thing, like this sort of halfway between South and North, that there's like kind of an entitlement that like, you get a little bit of snow, you got to have a day off, right? And like, I like a day off as much as the next person. But to my mind, like, we pay a lot of taxes to maintain our streets and services. And, in DC, we live in a large metropolitan city. One of the nice things about that is that like the weather in general needn't affect whether you can get to the grocery store. And that's one reason you live in cities, is because they're more convenient that way. And so this tendency to like throw up their hands and be like, well, what can we do? It's snowing. We've got to keep the kids home. That's what drives me kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, as an adult, I understand what you're saying and I agree with it, but I have really good snow day memories. And I do think that having 1 or 2 per year is like a quintessential like childhood experience that I hope DC kids and Maryland kids and Virginia kids get to enjoy. But like 1 or 2 sounds great. 11 sounds like a lot. And also at that age, like you don't want to be like you're stuck at home with your parents and your siblings. Like you want to go see your friends and stuff. Sometimes school is the best way to do that.
There was this time, maybe it was like in 2016 when there was a big snowstorm and DCPS closed for a few days. And one of those days the DCPS Twitter said something like, here are some great activities to do with your kids, on snow days so that they can keep learning. One of my friends tweeted back at that, like, you know what else is a really good activity to keep learning? School.
Yeah. I mean, I echo Priyanka's sentiment, taking the Pollyanna-esque stance here. But I mean, I feel like it is such a quintessential part of kids, and just like 1 or 2 days, let the kids have it before they are saddled into adulthood and have to work through all sorts of inclements that are thrown at them. And also, if we are to believe all the sort of warnings we're hearing about what we're doing to our planet, who knows how many snow days we might have. So let's just sort of go outside and roll around in it while we can before, it's not as available to us anymore.
You guys make a good point. Maybe we should actually just consider them like holidays rather than this sort of hybrid situation.
Yeah, that's true.
Priyanka, Mimi, thank you guys for being here.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. This was great.
And that is all for today here on CityCast DC. Our executive producer is Priyanka Tilve. Our producer is Julia Karen. Our newsletter writer is Kayla Cote-Stemmerman. Our production assistant is Susanna Brown. And our hosts are Bridget Dodd and me, Michael Schaefer from Politico. Music is by Alex Roldan. If you enjoyed the show, why don't you spend your next snow day listening to all of our back episodes at dc.citycast.fm. We'll be back Monday morning, even if it snows, with more news from around the city. Bye.